Hello, my friend, and welcome once again to another episode here, Red Delta Project YouTube channel, taking a fundamental approach to diet and exercise to help you be fit and live free. And speaking of fundamental approach, this video is the big daddy of them all. I've been writing my next book, Be Fit and Live Free, a fundamental approach to diet and exercise to give you more freedom and personal power over your health and fitness. And this is kind of an overview of how a fundamental approach actually works. And it may be easier to start off with kind of deconstructing or taking out the trash, because a fundamental approach is in many ways very different from what is out there and very common in our fitness culture, which is what I call a method-based approach. And a method-based approach works like this. You do method X, you're gonna get result Y. So if you lift the weights, you're gonna get bigger and stronger. If you follow the diet, you're gonna lose weight and get six-pack abs and so on. And this is mostly how our fitness culture works, that if you want a given result, then you just find the method that gets you that result. And on the surface, it kind of makes sense, but that's not how fitness actually works. You're not losing weight because of the fat or the carbs or the sugar or the diet. You don't get bigger and stronger because you follow the right program, you lift weights, or it's the right number of sets and reps. Because if that were the case, then only the people who followed that diet or did that program would ever get that particular result. Moreover, the people who do that would always get that result. But of course, it doesn't take much of an observation to recognize that lots of people follow every diet imaginable, and most people never lose the weight or keep it off that they want. Furthermore, most people in the gym are working out, they're lifting weights, they're doing everything they want, and the majority of them will never get the results they want. But some people do, and even if you took everybody who does have success in fitness, you're not gonna find a whole lot of commonality between what methods they're using. One person does high volume, the other person does low volume. One person does low carb, the other person does high carb. One person does intermittent fasting, the other person eats several small meals throughout the day, like I do. There's not a whole lot of consensus and continuity with any type of method that reliably produces a result in our fitness culture. And that's because the general principles that actually govern your results aren't really down to what diet and exercise methods you use. Instead, we want to recognize that your results are not about your diet or exercise methods. They're about understanding the fundamental processes that truly govern your fitness. And there are three particular processes that we want to be aware of. The first process is the process of physiological conditioning. The first half of it is creating a stimulus or a functional demand. Basically, you're telling your body what you want it to be able to do, and then you have adaptation in order to accommodate that demand. The second process is that of dietary support. So we have, in the first half, consumption of nutrients and foods, and then expenditure and utilization of those foods. And then finally, we have the process of emotional drive or motivation, because fundamentally, we humans are emotional creatures. Your success boils a heck of a lot more down to how you feel rather than what you know or even what you do, because how you feel is going to control what you know and what you do in the long run. And that's governed by the process of perceived benefit to perceived cost ratios. So your success in everything with health and fitness boils down to understanding those three processes. A couple key points to recognize here. One, all three processes are happening completely on autopilot 24/7. You do not control these. Okay? They control your fitness, but you don't control them. You can't control them. If you could control them, that would literally mean you can control the very laws of human and Mother Nature itself. Essentially, you would be God. But the good news is you don't have to control them, largely because your ability to get what you want doesn't come from controlling the processes of how fitness works, but influencing them. And that's where your diet and the exercise program and the sets and the reps and the carbs and the fat and all that stuff comes into play. It doesn't control your results, but it does influence those processes, and that in your habits is how you can actually make fitness work for you. Okay, so great, we've got these processes, but knowing that in and of itself doesn't really do you any good. It's kind of like observing a sunset. You're recognizing what's happening, but it doesn't give you all that much control and practical application, which is where the second step in a fundamental approach comes into play. Because when we are looking at our habits, we're not trying to lose weight or build muscle or anything through our diet and exercise habits. Instead, we're trying to influence those processes. But there's a lot of different ways that we can look at different things. I mean, just look at all the confusion there is about just volume in exercise training. So how do you know what's going to actually be effective for you? And the answer to that is that your goal, when it comes to influencing those processes, isn't to follow any particular diet or exercise program. It's instead to have an objective-based approach to your habits. In other words, what are you trying to accomplish with making a chicken caisson dinner or some sort of a workout? What is the objective you're trying to accomplish? Because if you don't know what that objective is, everything you do when it comes to diet and exercise boils down almost entirely to luck. You're throwing stuff at the wall, crossing your fingers, and hoping by chance you're going to get the results you want. But when you have an objective-based approach, you walk into the gym for every workout and every meal you make, you're saying, this is exactly what I'm trying to accomplish. And the ability to accomplish that thing is directly correlated to your success in achieving your goals. There's lots of different objectives you can try to accomplish, but here's the general long and the shorts of it. When it comes to your physical training, you want to be training for a functional demands, because ultimately the biggest principle in fitness is you gain that which you challenge. If you want to get stronger, challenge your strength. So you should be using methods that are challenging your strength in the gym. If you want to improve your endurance and your stamina, utilize methods that are challenging your endurance and stamina. If you want to improve your mobility, what type of things are you doing in the gym that are increasing your mobility? And if you have that objective in your workouts, you're going to stand a much greater chance of achieving that and therefore influencing that process. Same thing goes with diet too. There are 4 fundamental appetites that we want to satisfy. We're not trying to avoid carbs or sugar or stuff. That stuff is just superficial mumbo jumbo guessing game that again puts your ability to be successful largely up to chance. But instead, the healthiness of your diet depends on how well you're satisfying your hunger, how well you're satisfying your basic nutrition support, so are you getting basic nutrients into your body, how well you're satisfying your hedonic support, so the taste, the texture, the pleasures of food, and how well you're satisfying your metabolic support. In other words, are you feeding your body adequately to support the activities and the lifestyle that you have? So your ability to effectively get in shape boils down to how well you're influencing the fundamental processes, and the best way to do that is to have the objective relative to your goals and objectives that you're trying to accomplish with every single habit that you have. The more you understand those objectives, the better you're achieving those objectives, the better you're influencing those processes, and the more control you're going to have over your health and fitness. And the third and final layer of a fundamental approach to fitness boils down to your ability to achieve personal alignment. Now, personal alignment basically means you're adopting habits that work well for you and your circumstances, because your ability to achieve an objective and influence those processes boils down to what habits do you have that give you the best chance to do that according to your situation. And of course, everybody's different. We all have different resources. We all have different amounts of time and energy and equipment and different levels of proficiency and different preferences. We're all very unique individuals. So instead of thinking, okay, what's the best diet to lose weight? What's the best exercise for building muscle? What's the best ab exercise and stuff? That can be a good place to get ideas, but that's in no way, shape, or form what your results actually depend on. Because if you suck at Olympic lifting, you hate going to the gym, and you don't even have a barbell to lift with, well, what are the chances that you're going to actually use Olympic lifting to achieve the objective of building strength to influence the process of physical conditioning and adaptation to get the results you want? Well, pretty small. But on the other hand, if you have some degree of proficiency in bodybuilding techniques and you have dumbbells and cable machines at your local gym that you can access, and you really enjoy using those tools, and you have time in your schedule and the ability to utilize those types of workouts, and you know what you're doing is lifting fairly heavy to develop the strength that you're after, you're gonna stand a far greater chance of consistently getting in your workouts, productively engaging the muscles every single time, and therefore having a much bigger objective. You're achieving the objective of stimulating the strength, therefore having a much bigger influence over the fundamental process and doing what's actually best for you to get the results you want. So all three of those steps are how a fundamental approach to fitness works. And I would argue how fitness actually works. Not about the diet you're following. It's not about the workout program. As long as you keep a method-based approach, you're always going to be playing proverbial whack-a-mole from one thing to the next, hoping that something's going to work largely by luck. And if it even does work, what are the chances that it's going to continue and stay working for you as your circumstances change? Understanding the fundamental processes, understanding an objective-based approach to diet and exercise, and understanding how you can achieve better personal alignment empowers you to be much more impactful with your habits, understanding what's going to work best for you, while also giving you complete freedom and autonomy so that you can adapt and adjust your habits to have the best possible effect with the least amount of stress on mind, body, and lifestyle so that you get much better results and results that can actually be maintained. So that's the latest in my next book coming out on Be Fit and Live Free. I'll keep you updated on that as it's still progressing. It's very much in the editing stage right now. But as always, I always give away all of my best information for free here on the YouTube channel. So make sure that you're subscribing, or on the RDP podcast where you can find more there. The books are just more of a condensed, easier way to consume that information. More videos here on a fundamental approach. Let me know if you have questions down below. Thank you so much for watching. Be fit and live free.